What if a small nation, maybe one you haven't thought much about, nestled high in the Himalayas, could achieve something unprecedented, like 20% annual economic growth, year after year, for
Yeah.
2 decades straight?
Yeah, imagine that. Doubling its economy roughly every 3.5 years, transforming itself from, well, largely relying on money sent home by workers abroad, into a global example of prosperity.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. A really bold blueprint for Nepal, outlined by Paramendra Kumar Bhagat in The 20% Growth Revolution, Nepal's path to prosperity through Kalkiism.
We're going to unpack this whole new paradigm they're calling Kalkiism. It positions Nepal really at the edge of a historic leap, a future unlike anything we've seen.
Okay, let's unpack this bold vision then, a transformative new paradigm called Kalkiism. We're going to explore how Nepal stands at the edge of history, ready to leapfrog into a future unlike anything seen before.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is that this isn't presented as just another economic theory. It's framed more like a civilizational software upgrade, blending ancient wisdom with, cutting-edge technology to try and build a truly just society.
So our mission here, for you listening, is to really get under the hood, understand the core ideas, the big proposals, the implications of this whole philosophy. We want to help you grasp these complex ideas quickly.
Right. We'll look at the specific mechanisms proposed, maybe some historical precedents that inspired them, and definitely the huge challenges a revolution like this would face. It's all drawn directly from this framework.
Okay, so let's set the scene first. Nepal today. What's the current reality and what's the promise this Kalkism idea holds out?
Well, Nepal right now faces some pretty significant struggles.
Mm.
There isn't a lot of robust industry, foreign investment is limited, and maybe most critically, there's a real shortage of good jobs at home.
It's quite stark, isn't it? Something like a third of the working age population is actually working outside Nepal.
It's staggering. You're essentially exporting your most productive people. GDP per capita lags way behind most of Asia. And public services, healthcare, education, they're stretched thin, underfunded, often, well, often failing the people who need them most.
And that leads to this remittance economy you mentioned. Over 22% of the entire GDP in 2024 came from money sent back by workers abroad.
Exactly. Workers in the Gulf, Malaysia, construction sites, kitchens, everywhere. And the human cost is massive. Family separated, exploitation is common, it's a huge brain drain.
Yeah.
Instead of building opportunities at home, Nepal exports its people. It's quite heartbreaking when you think about it.
And yet, the core of this vision is that despite all that, Nepal's potential is enormous. It's not just a blank slate, is it? It's more like a vibrant one, maybe ready for something completely new.
Absolutely. That's the key argument. You've got this young, energetic population.
Ah.
Internet access is actually improving quite rapidly, over 70% smartphone penetration, which is crucial for any digital leap. There's growing global awareness and a really passionate diaspora that wants to contribute back home.
So that combination makes it almost uniquely positioned, like a clean slate for radical change.
Precisely. It could potentially leapfrog the traditional messy stages of development.
Hmm.
Think about Kenya with M-Pesa mobile payments. They bypass landlines entirely. Or Estonia building a digital government practically from scratch.
Right.
Nepal, this blueprint argues, could do something similar, maybe even bigger, because it isn't weighed down by old industrial systems or entrenched interests that often fight change.
Yeah, that makes sense, like building fresh instead of endless renovations. But what about the economic models we see everywhere else? Capitalism, maybe with some social safety nets. Haven't they worked?
Well, that's the critique, isn't it?
Hmm.
Most nations use variations of capitalism, maybe mixed with some socialism, public health care, pensions, that kind of thing. But fundamentally, they're still built around profit, debt, competition.
And the argument is that hasn't delivered for everyone.
Look at Western neoliberalism, often leads to huge inequality, jobs moving overseas, fragile financial systems. Then you have, say, China's state capitalism growth, sure, but with authoritarianism and massive debt. Even India's model, mixing democracy and liberalization, is still battling enormous inequality and bureaucracy.
So the core argument here is that none of these existing models have really cracked the code for prosperity for everyone, especially if you're starting from a low base.
Exactly. The blueprint puts it quite bluntly. None of these models has cracked the code of universal prosperity. They are not designed to lift everyone. They are designed to lift a few and offer hope to the rest. And that's where Kalkiism comes in, offering something radically different.
Based on?
Based on justice, dignity, and abundance for all. That's the promise.
Okay, let's get into the philosophy itself. Kalkiism, or Karmaism. Named after Kalki, the 10th avatar of Vishnu. That sounds quite religious.
It draws from that tradition, yes. Kalki is prophesied to end the current age of darkness, the Kali Yuga, and bring in an age of righteousness, the Satyuga. But the key point made is that this isn't religious dogma. It's used as an archetype, a symbol for profound transformation and renewal.
Got it. So less literal theology, more symbolic framework.
Exactly. And its roots are really interesting. It weaves together three strands. First, Dharmic philosophy, this idea of natural law, balance, justice, purpose, like a moral compass for society.
Okay.
Second, Eastern spiritual economics, this view that wealth isn't just for hoarding by a few, but for the benefit of the whole community. It asks, what's wealth actually for?
And the third?
Digital age innovation, the belief that modern tech can genuinely help abolish scarcity and create abundance for everyone. So, Kalkiism is presented as a response to the failures of both pure capitalism and old-style communism. It's seeking a kind of harmony.
Harmony between self and society, wealth and wisdom, growth and grace, as the text puts it. So what are the key tenets? These sound more like ethical pillars than just policy choices.
They are. They're presented as the ethical foundations, 6 core tenets. First, and maybe most fundamental, dignity for all. The individual is sacred. Essentials like education, healthcare, justice, opportunity. These are birthrights, not charity. It rejects systems that treat people like cogs in a machine.
Makes sense. What's next?
Second, universal access to knowledge, health, and justice. These 3 are absolutely non-negotiable rights. No child denied education due to poverty. No one dying because they couldn't pay a hospital bill up front. No one denied justice because they can't afford a lawyer. Foundational stuff.
Okay, and then we get to the really big one. Zero interest as an ethical foundation. This sounds, well, revolutionary. How is interest framed as unethical?
It's framed as inherently parasitic, not just an economic tool, but a mechanism that creates inequality. It rewards wealth for just sitting there, passively earning, rather than rewarding productive work.
So it punishes those who lack capital.
Precisely. The argument is, imagine removing that core driver of disparity. Capital, in Kalkiism, shouldn't be hoarded, it should flow. Removing interest is seen as unlocking a floodgate of opportunity. It's presented as mathematically logical, leading to productivity over predation.
Wow, okay. That's a huge shift in thinking. What's the fourth tenet?
100% cashless economy. We touched on this, but it's much more than just convenience. The core idea, cash is the vehicle of corruption.
Because it's untraceable.
Exactly. Bribes, black markets, tax evasion, they all rely on untraceable cash. A fully digital, transparent system means accountability, speed, better governance, better data. But the key phrase used is not for control, but for clarity. It's about visibility for public good, not surveillance. Government as steward, not sovereign. This is a really interesting take on the state's role. It's not all-powerful, nor is it hands-off. It's a steward entrusted to uplift every citizen.
So it owns banks for access, not control. Deploys resources for well-being, not elite privilege.
That's the idea. Power flows from the people upward. It's a reimagined social contract based on service and accountability.
And the final tenet connects back to the spiritual side.
Yes. Number 6, integration of spiritual wisdom with economic policy. This is where the karmaism idea really surfaces. It doesn't separate the material and the spiritual. It asks those deeper questions. What is wealth for? What's a good life?
So instead of just GDP,
they propose tracking progress by gross domestic requirement, GDR. Are people's actual needs being met? The goal isn't just growth, but contentment, creativity, and contribution. It gives economic policy a moral compass.
So why Nepal? What makes it the ideal place to try something this radical?
Several factors are highlighted. It's small enough to move fast, but big enough to be a model. It has this rich spiritual heritage alongside material poverty, a stark contrast to showcase change. Politically, yes, often gridlocked, but the population is digitally awakening and, crucially, seems tired of broken systems.
Ready for a new vision.
That's the argument. Kalkiism, starting in Nepal, isn't seen as coincidence, but maybe as a calling. The crucible for a new paradigm.
Right, a land ripe for a revolution of values. Okay, so we've got the philosophy. Now let's get practical. This 20% growth revolution rests on 3 main pillars. Pillar 1, the cornerstone you called it, is the 100% cashless economy. You said it's way more than just digital payments.
It really is. When Kalkiism talks about 100% cashless, it means every transaction. Personal, business, government, all digital, all recorded, zero physical cash circulating. Every single Nepali gets a digital ID, a digital wallet, access to secure financial tools.
And crucially, it's not like the Western model, not driven by private company.
No, that's a key distinction. It's envisioned as a publicly owned, ethically managed, interoperable system, open to everyone, controlled by no single private entity. It's framed around inclusion, trust, and equity, not profit margins or credit card fees.
So why is physical cash seen as such a fundamental barrier? What damage does it do in a place like Nepal?
Its anonymity is the core problem. First, it fuels corruption. Bribes, kickbacks, election funding cash leaves no trail. Second, the shadow economy thrives on it, tax evasion, illegal trade. The government loses revenue. Honest businesses struggle.
And it blocks access for many people too, right?
Absolutely. Think about farmers, small vendors without formal records. Cash makes it incredibly hard for them to get loans or build credit. It locks them out. Plus, in remote areas, cash can be physically inaccessible or disappear in disasters. Digital funds can be sent instantly, directly.
So going fully cashless,
Yeah.
the cultural shift must be immense. What's the biggest change envisioned beyond just the mechanics?
I think it's that forced transparency. Corruption thrives in the dark. Digital transactions bring everything into the light. Petty bribes for basic services, they just become untenable, almost impossible overnight.
And it empowers people directly.
Yes, especially women, who often have less control over household cash. Digital wallets give them autonomy. The ripple effect is a massive potential boost in trust in government, in finance within communities. The blueprint outlines huge transformations: corruption dying out, better public services via direct transfers, multiplied tax revenue as the informal economy comes online, universal financial inclusion, and a flourishing of micro-businesses.
Okay, that's a compelling picture. But the infrastructure needed, it must be massive. What does that tech stack look like?
It needs to be robust, yes, but again, the idea is to leapfrog. Build a national digital nervous system. The core elements include a universal biometric digital ID for everyone, linked to all services.
Like India's Aadhaar, maybe?
Similar concept, yes. Then digital wallets for all, managed publicly, accessible via apps, SMS, even basic text codes for older phones. A national payments grid connecting everything for real-time, zero-fee transfers. And of course, rock-solid data protection and cybersecurity with strong encryption and public oversight.
Have other countries provided useful lessons here? Good or bad?
Definitely. India's experience with demonetization and UPI show the power of digital ID and payments, but also the need to build infrastructure first and use incentives, not shocks. Sweden's near cashless society highlights the importance of ensuring everyone is included, especially older people. Kenya's M-Pesa showed how mobile money can empower rural areas, but also the need for regulation to prevent monopolies.
So Nepal can learn from these and, theoretically, design a system focused on justice from the start.
That's the advantage of the clean slate argument. No powerful cash lobbies or credit card companies to fight.
So for the average Nepali, what does this mean day to day? And how do you address those inevitable fears, system failures, government spying?
Day to day, it promises an end to the constant drain of petty corruption. Visible transactions mean fewer hidden fees, no more bribes. A farmer gets a digital wallet, builds a transaction history, suddenly qualifies for interest-free loans. Women gain control over their earnings. It builds trust and unlocks opportunity.
And the concerns.
They're addressed directly. For the elderly or less educated, things like voice-activated wallets and human digital ambassadors for training are proposed. For system crashes, robust offline protocols and backups. For privacy, transparent data policies, independent audits, strong encryption clarity without surveillance. The economic impact is forecast to be huge. Expanded tax base, explosion in small loans, billions saved from corruption. It's seen as the real ignition key for growth.
Okay, so a cashless society tackles transparency, but the blueprint says real transformation needs a revolution in the financial system itself. Which brings us to the really radical part. Fully state-owned banks and zero interest. That just flies in the face of conventional finance.
It absolutely does. It's a direct challenge. The critique of the current system is that private, profit-driven banks inherently create problems. They lend mostly to the wealthy, avoiding poorer people or small businesses without collateral.
Creating a cycle where the rich get richer.
Precisely. High interest rates drain the real economy. Businesses struggle to profit if loan costs are too high. It leads to debt traps, especially in rural areas where loan sharks prey on those excluded by banks. Plus, we've all seen private bank failures needing public bailouts. Profits are private, losses are public, and control over credit stays with a small elite.
So state-owned banks are meant to flip that entirely. Banking for public good.
That's the core idea, public ownership for public purpose. Capital access becomes a right, like roads or water. Profits get reinvested in communities, schools, hospitals, jobs, not shareholder pockets. Everyone gets equal access, no discrimination. And it aims for a stable system focused on long-term development, not risky speculation.
Okay, that's the state-owned part. Now, zero interest. This is where my head starts spinning. Interest seems so fundamental. How is this justified as logical, even liberating?
It is radical, no doubt, but the argument starts by saying interest is not a law of nature. It's a human construct, a design choice. Islamic finance has prohibited interest for centuries, using profit sharing instead. Japan, the EU, they've experimented with zero or even negative rates.
And the critique of interest itself?
That it rewards inactivity. You earn money just by having money, while borrowers work hard to repay. That it fuels inflation as interest costs get passed on. And that it punishes long-term planning, because the longer the loan, the more interest you pay, discouraging big, forward-looking projects.
So the alternative logic is borrow what you need, use it productively, pay back the principal. That's it. No extra profit extracted just for the loan itself.
Exactly. No penalty for being poor or needing capital. How it would work involves a complete redesign. All banks merge into the People's Bank of Nepal, a national public system. Lending becomes purpose-based only for productive things like farming, housing, education, new businesses.
How do you stop misuse without interest as a risk premium?
Through tight digital monitoring and auditing, using AI and blockchain to track how the capital is used. If it's misused, the consequence isn't crippling interest, but loss of trust and future access. And instead of just personal collateral, a community collateral system is proposed, where communities vouch for borrowers, creating social accountability.
Like your whole village supports your loan application.
Something like that. Fostering collective responsibility. Repayment terms would also be flexible, based on income, with grace periods, maybe even debt forgiveness for national service contributions.
Can you paint a picture? How does this change life for, say, a farmer or a small cooperative?
Okay, take a village farmer. Before, maybe couldn't get a bank loan, forced to use a loan shark at 60% interest. Under Kalkiism, gets a zero-interest loan from the People's Bank, buys better seeds, doubles their profit, repays the principal, reinvests. Simple. Or a women's weaving cooperative, maybe working informally with cash. They get a zero-interest grant, digitize, train people, scale up, maybe even start exporting online. Or a tech startup with a great idea but no assets for collateral. They get a public innovation grant and zero-interest capital to develop their software, creating high-tech jobs.
And this isn't entirely out of the blue. There are precedents.
There are inspirations cited, yes. Islamic finance, as mentioned. Germany's state-owned KfW Bank, crucial for their green transition. The century-old state bank in North Dakota in the U.S. Even post-WWII Japan used state-directed low-interest credit for rebuilding. Nepal, the argument goes, can learn from these and take it to the next level.
What about the wider economic impact? How does this fuel that 20% growth?
The projections are huge. Explosive SME growth, because capital flows freely to small businesses. Housing and infrastructure boom as projects become affordable without the drag of interest. A lower cost of living as interest costs come out of prices. And a massive surge in public trust when people see a fair financial system leading to more savings and investment.
Okay, but the big questions remain. How is zero interest sustainable? Won't it cause runaway inflation? What happens to private banks?
Valid questions, and the blueprint tackles them on inflation. The argument is inflation comes from misallocated capital chasing too few goods. With digital monitoring ensuring loans go to productive uses, building real things, creating real value, inflation can be controlled.
And risk?
Managed by data analytics, community accountability, diversified lending, drawing on microfinance lessons. It's about social capital, not just financial.
Only private banks.
The text is blunt. Yes, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Finance should serve the economy, not dominate it. It's an intentional shift.
Where does the initial capital come from?
Redirected subsidies, increased tax revenue from the now transparent cashless economy, diaspora investment bonds, national savings, and potentially central bank digital currency.
And ensuring repayment without punitive interest.
Reputation systems, digital nudges, social enforcement like losing access to future capital or public recognition, building a culture of responsibility.
So for you listening, this is a fundamental reversal, an economy driven by ethical conviction, not just profit maximization.
Exactly. It aligns finance with collective well-being. Capital becomes a tool for creation, not exploitation. It forces us to ask, are the financial rules we take for granted fixed laws, or are they just design choices we could actually change? And what could changing them unlock?
Moving on to the social fabric, free education for all, framed as the absolute engine of transformation. What's the situation now in Nepal that needs fixing so badly?
It's pretty challenging. big access gaps, remote villages without decent schools, poor kids dropping out early, a serious quality crisis, teachers often absent, lots of rote learning, kids not mastering basic skills, major equity challenges, girls, Dalits, minorities still face discrimination, plus a two-tier system with expensive private schools.
And the curriculum.
Often outdated, focused on memorization, not critical thinking, creativity, or digital skills, and even public education isn't truly free. There are hidden affordability problems like uniforms, books, transport. Higher education is increasingly commercialized. Nepal's biggest asset, its youth, isn't getting the investment it needs.
So the Kalkiist vision is free, excellent, inclusive, and purpose-driven. Break those down for us.
Okay, free means truly free. No tuition ever, from preschool to PhD. No hidden costs, uniforms, meals, devices included. Exams are for guidance, not exclusion. Excellent means world-class. High-quality, well-trained teachers, modern digital tools everywhere, global standards but culturally relevant teaching. Inclusive means no one left behind, special support for marginalized kids, focus on nurturing individual talents, and purpose-driven means real-world ready. Curriculum focused on creativity, problem-solving, ethics, digital fluency, entrepreneurship, environmental awareness, education serving both the individual and society.
How does that connect directly to 20% economic growth? Seems obvious, but what are the mechanics?
It's a huge productivity multiplier. Educated workers are simply more innovative and efficient. It leverages the demographic dividend, turning a young population into a skilled workforce, maybe even a regional hub. It fosters an innovation ecosystem via universities focused on R&D. It ensures social stability, education reduces crime, strengthens democracy, plus major health and gender benefits. And it acts as a magnet for diaspora return. Skilled Nepal is coming back to contribute.
And technology plays a big role here, too, the digital leap.
Absolutely critical. It's about tech as an equalizer. Smart classrooms in every village, solar-powered tablets, satellite internet, a national education platform. Think a massive online library with AI tutors, teacher support networks for collaboration, an open-source curriculum that can evolve quickly, and data-driven improvement using real-time feedback.
Making every home a potential classroom.
That's the vision. Lifelong learning, free, accessible everywhere. Inspirations cited include Finland, Cuba, India's Kerala state, South Korea, all places where education drove transformation.
Okay, let's switch to healthcare. If education is the engine, health is the foundation of economic justice. What are the current healthcare challenges in Nepal?
They're significant. Underfunded public health care. Less than 2% of GDP goes to health, leading to poor facilities. Privatization and high out-of-pocket costs. Citizens pay over 60% themselves, often falling into debt, while private care can be exploitative. Big geographic and social inequity. Rural and marginalized communities lack access. A shortage of professionals, especially outside cities. And poor preventive care. The system mainly treats sickness rather than promoting wellness or tackling mental health.
Dire indeed. So what's the Kalkiist fix? What's a core principle?
6 principles again, but the absolute core is free means free. No user fees at public facilities, consultations, meds, tests, surgeries. Private providers regulated for essential services. It must be universal means everyone, from birth to death, as a right. It has to be digital means efficient, using digital health IDs, electronic records, telemedicine for remote areas, AI for diagnostics.
And focus on prevention.
Yes. Preventive means proactive screenings, vaccinations, health campaigns. Community-based means grounded, using local health workers, ward clinics, even integrating traditional healers respectfully. And finally, ethical means no corruption, clear protocols, transparency, oversight.
How is free healthcare an economic accelerator? It's usually seen as a cost center.
Kalkiism frames it as a fundamental investment. Healthy workers are productive workers. Fewer sick days, better performance. When people aren't terrified of medical bills, their savings become investment in other areas. It creates huge job creation in the health sector, prevention reduces public expenditure in the long run, and a good system helps attract diaspora and tourists.
What does the infrastructure look like?
A network of primary health centers, local ward clinics, upgraded district hospitals, mobile clinics, even drone delivery for supplies, all linked by a national health cloud. The goal is comprehensive care reaching everyone. Think of a Dalit woman in remote Rolpa getting quality prenatal care, or a teen in Kathmandu accessing free mental health support via teletherapy. Models like Cuba, Thailand, the NHS, Rwanda are cited as learning points.
Okay, so education and health are sorted. But the blueprint says justice is the soul of progress. Economic growth without it is meaningless. How bad is corruption in Nepal, and how does Kalkiism propose to root it out?
Corruption is described as pervasive and corrosive, not just grand theft, but everyday extortion bribes needed for basic licenses, school admissions, even court access. Public offices become auction houses. Then there's elite looting, inflated contracts, stolen land, siphoned budgets, and judicial compromise, where justice is delayed or sold. It breeds deep cynicism.
And the Kalki's framework aims to make it impossible.
Through a multi-pronged approach, leveraging the other pillars, the 100% cashless system is key. No cash for bribes. Digital governance makes processes transparent. People own their data. Accountability is decentralized. The legal system is overhauled. Public service becomes ethical. And there's constant public monitoring.
What are the specific steps?
4 main ones. First, digital integrity.
Yeah.
E-governance for everything. Public dashboards showing budgets in real time. AI detecting fraud. Blockchain for tamper-proof contracts. Transparency becomes the default.
Second.
A legal system for the people. Community justice centers for local issues, fast-track anti-corruption courts, maybe even televised trials, free legal aid for all, digital case management to stop delays, maybe a Truth and Reconciliation Commission focused on corruption.
Third, the civil service itself.
Ethical civil service, recruitment purely on merit, real-time performance tracking, strict anti-bribery rules, decent pay, public visibility of work.
And finally, changing the culture.
Cultural and moral renewal. Moral education, campaigns promoting integrity using religion and civic pride, a national anti-corruption pledge, using arts and media, plus social shame and real consequences for offenders. The public acts as auditors via open data and reporting apps. And specific measures target the political mafia, finance reform, asset declarations, term limits, digital voting. Inspirations come from Estonia, Singapore, Georgia, Scandinavia.
Okay, let's shift to jobs. Mass job creation and bringing the diaspora home. Jobs are called engines of purpose, anchors of dignity. What's the crisis Nepal faces here?
It's severe. Massive unemployment and underemployment, especially among youth. Huge labor export dependency, over 4 million Nepalese abroad. Remittances are vital, but workers are vulnerable. A big skills mismatch between education and job market needs. Stark urban-rural disparities, opportunities mainly in cities, and a stalled manufacturing base. Nepal imports way too much. It creates widespread despair.
How does Kalkiism approach work differently? It's not just about creating any job.
No, it redefines work itself. Work as service aims to restore dignity to all labor. Job creation as a state responsibility. The government must ensure opportunities, like education or healthcare. It's a right. Zero-interest capital as fuel allows businesses to hire without the burden of interest payments. Skills for a new economy means education prepares people for real, meaningful work, digital, green jobs. And decentralized employment creates jobs everywhere, not just Kathmandu.
So where will these jobs come from? What are the main engines?
5 key sectors are identified. 1, green agriculture and agritech, high-value organic farming, processing, exports. 2, sustainable manufacturing, local production of essentials like textiles, solar panels, initially for domestic market. 3, a tourism and hospitality renaissance, focusing on ecotourism, spiritual travel, heritage sites, creating local jobs. 4, the digital economy and remote work call centers, freelance hubs training rural youth for global digital jobs. And 5, massive infrastructure and public works, roads, schools, hospitals built through a National Employment Guarantee Program.
Tell me more about this NEGP, a job guarantee.
Essentially, yes, a proposed legal right to employment at the local level, focused on green infrastructure and community projects. Funded by zero-interest capital borrowed by municipalities, it prioritizes local labor, fair wages, skills training. A digital labor marketplace would match people to jobs or projects, all tracked transparently on public dashboards to prevent corruption. There's also huge emphasis on supporting small business with zero-interest startup funds and support centers.
And the diaspora in Nepal's untapped superpower. How do you get them back? It's not just about patriotism, right?
Right. Millions live abroad. Currently, push factors dominate lack of good jobs, respect, opportunity at home. Kalkiism aims to create strong pull factors. Meaningful jobs, guaranteed quality healthcare and education for their families, genuine respect for their skills, and a chance to actually build the new Nepal.
What specific strategies?
Things like a One Nepali, One Opportunity program, matching returnees to roles or grants, diaspora investment bonds offering safe, purpose-driven returns, fast-track resettlement services, diaspora skills exchange, platforms for mentoring, and formal recognition and prestige through awards or advisory roles, turning brain drain into brain gain, remittance into renaissance.
Now, this all sounds amazing, but it's going to face massive political resistance. The blueprint calls it a battle before the breakthrough. What exactly are the entrenched interests fighting to protect?
They're protecting a system built on privilege and opacity, a culture of cronyism where parties act like cartels, trading favors and contracts. Cash-fueled politics run on black money and corporate funding for favors. Their control over financial institutions. They work to suppress youth and outsiders from challenging the status quo. And they often maintain the caste-class nexus where social hierarchy still dictates opportunity. Kalkiism threatens every single one of these pillars.
What does that pushback look like? How does the establishment try to stop this?
Early signs mentioned include media blackouts by outlets controlled by vested interests, surveillance and harassment of activists, intimidation, threats. Co-optation tactics parties might steal the language of Kalkiism without any real intent to implement it, and judicial stalling, using the courts and bureaucracy to block or delay things like a referendum. It's a classic playbook against transformative change.
So the preferred path is a referendum. Does Nepal's constitution allow that?
Yes, Article 114 apparently gives citizens the right to demand one on major national issues, and Nepal has a history of mass movements forcing change. A referendum is seen as ideal because it's peaceful, uses democratic channels, educates the public, and gives the change undeniable legitimacy through a popular vote.
What would that campaign look like?
Very modern, very decentralized, digital mobilization, using apps for endorsements, transparent tallies, decentralized leadership with local champions everywhere, lots of public debates, seeking spiritual and cultural endorsement, using art, music, film to make the ideas accessible, a nationwide conversation.
But what if they block the referendum? What's plan B? The road to revolution. That sounds serious.
It's presented as a last resort if the democratic path is denied. It wouldn't be violent, but a kind of peaceful, digital, spiritual uprising. A civil disobedience campaign, non-cooperation with corrupt systems, digital resistance, online strikes, exposing corruption virally, maybe the formation of a new political force, a caucus party, creating parallel governance models like citizen councils, and a massive diaspora uprising, lobbying, fundraising, diplomatic pressure.
And youth in the diaspora are absolutely key to this struggle.
They're positioned as the driving force. Youth bring digital skills, moral clarity, they have the most at stake, and they can network effectively. The diaspora provides funds, global media reach, diplomatic clout, and can physically return to vote and help build. If the old system crumbles, there's even talk of a new Kalkiist constitution enshrining these rights, maybe creating a digital republic with blockchain voting.
Okay, let's look at the tech that underpins all this, the digital future. You said a 20% growth economy needs code, connectivity, and computing. Why is this digital infrastructure so fundamental?
Because it enables everything else. It's the nervous system. It provides the transparency to fight corruption. It's the platform for equality, delivering services directly to everyone everywhere. It's a huge multiplier of growth. Digital payments, logistics, marketplaces speed everything up. It's a catalyst for jobs in the tech sector itself, and it attracts investment. Serious global players need a functioning digital ecosystem.
How is this Kalki's tech stack different, not just importing Silicon Valley solutions?
No, the principles are key. It has to be open source, auditable, customizable by Nepalese. Privacy-respecting data owned by citizens, not corporations. Offline resilient works even with patchy connectivity. Mobile first because most Nepalese access the internet via phones. Interoperable systems talk to each other seamlessly. And democratically governed citizens have a say. Technology serving people, not just profit.
Can you walk us through the 6 layers? This sounds like the core architecture.
Right, it's the foundation. Layer 1. Digital identity, ID layer. Secure, biometric, universal ID linking to all services, verifiable offline. The spine of the system. Layer 2. Digital payments, transactions layer. The 100% cashless enabler. A national switch, Nepal Pay. QR codes everywhere. Offline options, voice activation, real-time settlement. Layer 3. Data registry layer, records and logs. Tamper-proof, blockchain potentially. Publicly auditable records, land title, degrees, budgets owned by individuals. Nothing to hide, nothing to fear. Layer 4, communication layer, connectivity plus citizen platforms. Universal 4G fiber, satellite internet, public Wi-Fi, plus platforms for participation, e-voting, grievance portals, digital parliament viewer, digital direct democracy. Layer 5, public service stack, digital government layer. A single citizen dashboard for everything, jobs, loans, school, health, business registration, subsidies. All in one place, all accessible, all accountable. Layer 6, AI and analytics layer, intelligence plus automation, using data for better public planning, flood prediction, logistics, personalized services, education, health risk, and smarter governance, budgeting, fraud detection. Algorithmic governance with a soul.
That's incredibly ambitious. Are there plans to build this capacity domestically? Special tech zones?
Yes, Kalki's tech parks, digital cooperative networks, a Kalki's AI lab for Nepali language models, open hardware missions, fostering local innovation, plus specific applications in health tech, ed tech, agri-tech, legal tech, all built with security and sovereignty in mind using Nepali cloud providers, national data centers.
Finally, this vision of Nepal as a beacon, inspiring the global south. Is that realistic? A small Himalayan nation leading a global movement?
The argument is yes, precisely because it's attempting something holistic and radical that hasn't been tried elsewhere. Combining all these elements, cashless, zero interest, free services, digital democracy, justice, diaspora power, open source tech, its success wouldn't just be economic, but moral and systemic.
What message does that send to other developing nations facing similar issues?
A powerful one. Many countries in Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia grapple with youth unemployment, debt, corruption. Nepal's success would offer a concrete alternative, urging them, build differently, build justly, build locally, build digitally, build spiritually. Nepal could share its policy templates, its open-source digital public infrastructure, maybe set up a Kalkist academy for training, engage in technical exchanges, and practice spiritual democratic diplomacy.
Asserting a new voice globally.
Potentially, the UN, maybe BRICS plus South forums, pushing for reform global finance, maybe a kind of non-aligned movement 2.0 based on ethics and tech. The spiritual aspect is key, framing money as a tool, tech for justice, the individual as divine, progress for all. Nepal becomes a global pilot zone, ending poverty without loans, scaling healthcare without insurance, creating rural jobs with data, running clean elections with tech, inspiring through compassion and courage, not conquest.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? This isn't just a fascinating story about Nepal. It's really a profound thought experiment about the future of governance, economics, and maybe society itself everywhere.
Absolutely. Connecting it to the bigger picture, Kalkiism suggests a nation's real wealth isn't just its GDP, it's its ability to offer dignity, justice, and opportunity to every single citizen, built on ethical foundations powered by the right technology.
The blueprint ends with this powerful line. An idea whose time has come is more powerful than any army. So consider this. If a small, landlocked nation can fundamentally reimagine its entire system from the ground up, what limits do we accept in our own societies that might just be design choices waiting for a rewrite? What fundamental principles might be ready for their own revolution?